Life is full of both challenging and beautiful moments, and the stories we tell of those times in our lives bring an opportunity to bring such encouragement and hope to those who hear them. The saying goes that we are amazed at people's achievements, but we really connect with people on their vulnerabilities. We have sat around so many tables and heard the most incredible stories of people's perseverance and victory, and our hope is that you would be encouraged on your journey as we broadcast them. This is a place where everybody's story matters. Welcome to the Journey Podcast. Well, welcome back to the Journey Podcast. And this is episode 2. So welcome, James.
I wasn't good enough for episode 1?
No, I was episode 1.
Well, that makes sense then.
Yeah. But I do want to welcome James. This is our good friend, James Hoffey. He's been like an older brother to us. You know, I have incredible brothers who live in South Africa, James and Mark, and they were very kind and considerate, always had a very soft place in their hearts for me. And I think that there's something to having an older brother who kind of gives you a hard time and roughens you up a little bit. And so I think that's why the Lord placed you in my life, because he knew that I needed an irritating older brother. So
my sister would agree with that, probably.
Yeah. You were saying something beforehand about a number 2 pencil.
Yeah, I remember when we were probably 8 to 10 years old in the back of my my grandfather's van, and I must have ticked her off somehow because she stabbed me in the shin and then the side of my other leg with a number 2 pencil, and the lead is still in there. It's probably what's wrong with me is I got lead poisoning.
Yeah, you got lead poisoning. You were born in the 70s. You're a lot older than me. How old are you?
Whoa, dude, you need to back up. 70s isn't that old. I'm 46 as of yet. Okay. No, as of Saturday.
Yeah, you're a decent amount older than me.
Yeah.
A little bit older.
That older, annoying brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here today. I do appreciate it. And I think the thing that I love about your story, and I'm good friends with Sabrina, who's James's wife. We're good friends. We've done some work together. It's been really fun. And I think I've just really loved to hear the stories of your life, because now we have this joke where we call him the evangelist from Los Angeles. And this morning in the shower in my head, I was like, the evangelist from Los Angeles. But anyway, that's how we see you. And you've got such a big heart. You have such a heart for people and such a heart for the Lord. And it's like you're all or nothing. But I know that it wasn't always that way. And I think of the contrast, like just your life growing up and where you are now. And so I kind of want to go back to your childhood and just get like the snapshot just of the stories that we've told around the dinner table, you've shared in groups before. Those are the kind of stories that are like, wow, look at what God did. Because we all have people in our lives that we are trusting to see change, or maybe people are in that place right now where they feel like, you know, this is my past. How am I ever going to get through this? How am I ever going to get beyond that man? And actually, God did it with you.
Yeah.
And here you are.
Yeah.
And it's like amazing. You have an amazing wife. You're very lucky, by the way.
Thank you.
She's a very good person.
I feel that way too.
Yeah. I hope she knows it too. I'm sure she does know.
She is definitely the duct tape of the family.
Yeah. That's a good way to see it.
And I do think that, like you said, it was always there with being kind-hearted and gentle and everything.
Yeah.
It's just where I grew up in Southern California, and my family, you know, how volatile we could be.
Yeah.
We had to train to be the opposite. I truly believe that we're all born with, you know, that compassion and caring. I mean, I'm sure there's some folks that aren't that way, but, you know, it's people think that, oh, I'm this way, or I'm a party, or I fight in bars, or well,
we're all created in the image of God, right?
Correct.
So in all of us at birth, there must be something there.
I think you have to be not trained. You grow up with your environment the way it is, and not being saved, and now, you know, walking with the Lord. I see that I didn't have to learn and try to be good. I had to learn and try to be bad, if that makes sense.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like to conform with the groups of people that we'd hang out with. I mean, you know, straight thugs. And,
Yeah.
And where I grew up is not a, you know, California is a great place, you know,
Yeah.
but where I grew up and you know, the time I grew up, it was rough, man. It was rougher than most people think.
I know sometimes we've driven with you guys through neighborhoods, or I've driven with Sabrina through a neighborhood, and she's like, oh, this is like where I grew up. And it's interesting just to see, you know, where you came from. And what was your childhood like, just growing up, and what created that like anger, you know, like that when you say like it was like you were surviving your environment, really.
And that's exactly how it was. I mean, that's a great way of putting it. You know, my mom was a single mom. She worked at a pharmacy.
Okay.
And, you know, she provided for us financially and roof over our head and everything else. But we had my mom had a boyfriend, and he was very loving, but he was very evil and mean when he drank, and he was an alcoholic.
Okay.
Excuse me. And he, you know, he put hands on me when I was younger, growing up. So that obviously didn't bode well for me. You know, it started as fear.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, it turned into anger.
Yeah, of course.
And then I didn't turn into that, but it wasn't hard for me to go and put hands on somebody or go and, you know, physically harm somebody.
Yeah.
Because I have been to jail a few times, and it's always been for fighting.
Yeah.
Never for, you see how I try to compartmentalize it and make excuses for it. Oh, but I always say when I tell the story or stories about my life is, oh, I just went to jail. It was just for fighting.
Yeah.
It wasn't for, you know, stealing the car or murdering. So, but still it's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, and so that upbringing was rough. But just like my family, we bury things, and we tend to forget about them.
Did you find that having the stepdad who drank, like I know now you don't drink alcohol. Did you find there was a season where you did? Did you feel like that helped, like to try and like numb some of that stuff that you were trying to hide? Did you ever drink?
Yeah, I did. I did drink. I always said drank enough for 3 grown men's lifetimes. Like,
oh wow,
I drank a lot. Not every day. See how we make excuses. So not every day did I drink, but when I did drink, I drank a lot. We partied, and I was.
You were just saying that. That's how you got. Oh wait, that was your stepfather who became violent when he drank.
Yeah.
So was it the same with you?
So I wasn't violent when I would drink, but I would fight because that would usually find me. Issues, you know, going to bars and everything else. But you know.
So you were messing with people in bars before. Now you just mess with us in church.
Correct. Yeah. Without the booze.
Yeah.
And without putting hands on people.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. Good job, James.
So going back to the question you asked, it's you know, I didn't drink to numb. I drank because that's what my uncles did.
Yeah.
My
things,
mom's boyfriend. You know, we grew up. The normal was growing up, partying. You know, if you're drinking and you know somebody's got something else, you know, like cocaine or whatever else, you would dabble in it because you were. You know, you were already intoxicated. You were, you know, partying. I mean, knowing now what I know, looking back, I'm like, wow, that was straight up living a rough life. And my life, that's normal party life for our generation.
But also you're living by a different standard. Like it's a different kingdom. And so of course, like what else would you do? You know what I mean? You're not, when we invite the Lord into our lives, we do become citizens of heaven. And so it is a different kingdom. Like we're living by different rules.
Right.
But when you're in the world, you're going to do as the world does, because what else would you do? You know what I mean?
Correct.
So you were just doing as you had seen. And but I mean, there must have been something, like Fred and I always talk about this, like with just drastic stories like that. And I know obviously you met Sabrina, but before that you were married, right?
I was twice before.
Twice? Mm-hmm. That's news to me. I thought there was only one. Okay.
No. Twice.
Wow.
Yeah, twice. So the first time was with my daughter Andrea's mom.
Okay.
And then I only married her because she was pregnant with Andrea, and I thought that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I did. That didn't work out. Then, fast forward to the next one, and that lasted for almost 10 years.
That's a long time, hey?
Yeah. But it's not, it just, like I said, again, all that compiling together. I don't regret my past.
Yeah.
I really look at it as, I walked and lived some pretty rough stuff.
Yeah.
No wonder I had anxiety. I never had
Yeah.
depression. I'm not that kind of guy, but I always had anxiety. I always felt like I was watching my back or, watching out, making sure, I wasn't caught up in something.
Yeah.
And I was a hardworking guy. I wasn't a criminal in the sense where, selling drugs or doing any of that, but I ran with some dudes, and I had family that were rough in their past too, but again, it doesn't make it right. It didn't make it right. It's just, now where I'm at now, this is where I feel like I'm supposed to be. This is the most comfortable, fulfilled. Like you were saying about, what did I have that feeling, even, that a feeling inside of me, even when I was not living the most pure life, right?
Yeah.
I always felt empty, like I wasn't doing anything to contribute to the world. And I think a lot of men feel that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of young men feel that way. But I tried so many different things and nothing would work. And I remember having dreams and wants to, go to like the burn unit in the hospital for kids, like I don't have any connection with that, but I felt like I wanted to do something, right? And give back. Like I wanted to leave a legacy. This is before I knew the Lord. And then once I knew the Lord through my wife is how it started, then that void was filled.
And it's almost like, because obviously, I grew up in a home with both parents. I knew the Lord from a very young age. But even in my own life, there is that thing that unless I lean into the Lord, there is this chasing inside of me that needs to be filled.
Right.
And I think no matter which walk you're in, we all have to come to that point where we don't get away from needing to put the Lord first and to really get after his heart.
Right.
Because we can do all the things, like, we can go visit kids in a burn unit. We can, we can sell everything and give the money to the poor. But unless we have love, and that is Christ himself, like we need the Lord's love to fill our hearts, and he's really after our hearts in all of that. And and I've often thought, like, how did Jesus, I was chatting with Fred about this the other night. Jesus obviously never sinned, but he was on earth. He was fully man and fully God. How come he never sinned? And I was just thinking, and this is totally my own opinion, but if God was fully in him because he was God, and God is love, he was fully satisfied. Like all of our sin always stems out of this need for love, like this need for affirmation, or the need, like with anxiety, like all of that is always rooted in needing to feel safe, needing to just have like all these ducks in a row so that we know, okay, we have some kind of control. But when we are fully rooted in God and we're filled with his love and we're living from that place, which is hard, no matter if you've walked your whole life as a Christian or like if you have not always walked as with the Lord, I think that's how he never sinned, because he was so filled with God's love. He was God, he was love. And so there was just none of that desire in him for anything else. He was fully satisfied.
Well, look where he was at in his 3 years of ministry.
Yeah.
Really, it was 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? Look where he was at. Like, so let me take it back. Look where we're at. So knowing how I used to live, and then now I could never go back to that.
No.
Because I've witnessed the fruits of God's blessings.
And the beautiful thing is that the Lord is now producing fruit from a season that was not honoring him. Like you weren't walking with the Lord, but he doesn't waste any of that. And and even in today, like you sharing, there are people who will witness with what you've walked through. And so the Lord, like he doesn't waste any of it. Even like you were saying, like, it's all brought you to this place. It's part of your journey. And I know that you have a heart for people who are stuck in that place now, people who struggle with, addictions or whatever. it's like this beautiful thing. I just think like the Lord's his redemptive purpose in each one of us, the fact that he can take our stories. And I mean, even you and I, like we chatted a lot about anxiety because obviously I was struggling this past, like, you know, came to the end of myself last year, and just your journey with that. And yeah, just how the Lord really walks you through that. And I think it's a beautiful thing how God redeems stories. And now, like with you and Sabrina, you guys get to be this blessing to those around you. And you're like all or nothing now.
Yeah.
It's because you've tasted it. You've been there. You've seen it. Whereas some people, there's always this like draw, the need to have the things or whatever, dabble in things. But actually, like you've been there. You've like fully tasted what the world has to offer. You've tasted what it feels like to walk in revenge. While all of us are like, love you if you persecute me, and always having to put the other shoe and wonder what it's really like to actually like get the revenge your flesh desires. But you've walked in that, and you've seen actually it didn't bear any fruit, and now you're walking in with a different set of rules. Like you're walking in the kingdom, and actually you would think, gosh, now you've come under like all of this like rules and regulations, but that's totally not how it's been for you. You actually feel more free, right?
Yeah.
That's what you've said.
I do.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe, and again, this is just my opinion, but I feel like maybe I have a advantage for myself because I've lived next to Satan.
Yeah.
For a long time. And then when I came over to the light and fun side, right? That I know what to expect, what's wrong, that feeling. There's, like you said, people that might have been raised in the church and maybe didn't, maybe did little things that, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, but not at the level as a lot of guys I grew up with, or a lot of people that were raised in the area I was raised in. They wouldn't understand those. It's freaking, I mean, it's rough.
Yeah.
Man. It is no joke rough, when coming home in a young age, coming home and having to fight to get in the house and fight to get out of the house.
Yeah.
To go to school, I'm not going to use my upbringing for any excuses why, maybe I had dropped out of high school, which I did. And it's my sophomore year.
Yeah.
I did get my GED later, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse. It's just, I'm very happy and content with where I came from and where I'm at.
Yeah.
And what's cool is I'm not done yet. My life is not done. And
I always say like, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I was.
Yes, right. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And so there's no alcohol drink. There's no drug. There's nothing that I've ever witnessed in life that is pure and powerful and beautiful as the Lord.
Yeah.
As my relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
No joke. And I'm so confident. When I first became a Christian and I was saved, I was embarrassed to even tell my family that I was saved and this is the path I'm on. It's not even a path. It's like I linked up to this train. That's where I was supposed to be. There was a spot for me.
And it can be hard because that was your belonging. You know what I mean? It was funny because when we moved to Chicago, obviously before that in South Africa, we were both working regular jobs.
Right.
So someone says like, oh, what do you do? You're like, oh, I'm in IT. Or like, I was like, oh, I've got my own salon. Here's my card. You should come and have a facial. But when we moved to Chicago, the kids were now at a public school. And so you're trying to make friends with everybody. And like moms would come to me in the park, playground or whatever. And they'd say, oh, so why are you here? And I'm like, oh, we came to start a church. And immediately, like I would tell within seconds, something would like glaze over in their eyes and the conversation would be done.
Yeah.
And so there was that temptation to just go, oh, we came over with work, my husband's work, whatever, not lie, but not tell the whole truth because one wants to be accepted. You want to fit in. You don't want to be seen as this like weirdo. And especially in the neighborhood we were growing up in, there was like a lot of negativity around Christianity and, the way it was viewed. And I think, so for you then going back to your family, as much as you wanted to be free from all of that, it's still your family. Like, you want to feel like you belong. And so suddenly you're like this guy who's like, oh, you're better than us. You think you're better than us or whatever. But
so that brings up something that's rough for me. I just talked to my uncle. Was a big part of my life. He was the only male that pretty much raised me. Yeah. He's like my father, right? Because my dad wasn't there. But my uncle was always there. Maybe not the best times that we've had, but he was always there. And you know what? I just talked to him the other day, and he had gotten into an accident, and just a couple weeks ago, and broke a bunch of his ribs. And and I was talking to him, and nothing's changed there. Like, I've changed, but that hasn't changed, and that's the only person. Like, I wanted to pray for him. Yeah. And I didn't. Yeah. Because I love him so much, I didn't want that to shut off. You know what I'm saying? But I don't, that's what, like you were saying, it's not like you're lying, but you're just not being, you're like, somebody's like, oh, hey, what's up, D, blah, blah, blah. Or Fred or James or Sabrina. And then you're like, oh, what are you here for? Oh, we're evangelists, or we're here to, we do a ministry, and oh, okay, well, nice talking to you. You know what I'm saying? But we've got to. I've done a good job, and it's been a while to get here. I've done a good job at. I'm in a place comfortable because I understand the word now. That I'm comfortable with sharing my faith, right, and talking about it. Because that's where I live. I'm in the kingdom, Yeah. But it's crazy. I got a little teared up a little bit because when you had said that, it's I want him to be saved, and I want certain people that I really love, to be impacted and have the freedom that God will give you.
And sometimes it's the hardest with the people that you love the most. Yeah. And I don't know why that is.
Because I do not come from that. Yeah. We're not we're not Christians. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Our family wasn't.
Yeah. But sometimes I think it is easier to share your faith with, you go out on work or whatever, and just share it with a random stranger. But when it's family, and I think because there is that fear, like, you don't want there to be change, and like the heart is always connection. I know for me, it's like, I don't mind there being possible conflict as long as we're going to be closer afterwards, because I love you very much and I don't want there to be disconnect. And so, I guess and it is something that's vulnerable, our relationship with the Lord and all of that. And especially if you love your uncle, I just think that's so beautiful.
Well, it's feelings come out and stir up. It's not like you're sitting with a psychologist or something and you're like, bawling, but you're bawling to your father. So the person that created you, you know what I mean? And in my opinion, again, I think that he loves that when you're vulnerable. Look, he doesn't need our tithes and offerings. He doesn't need our, different things. He doesn't need you to go out and be an evangelist and all this. But what he wants is your heart. Yeah. And guess what? When you break it down and you define that means all those things. Yes. So he's not telling you you're going to do this. Yeah. He's saying, I just want your heart. Yeah. Because he knows once your heart is in him and it's growing and then you will want to do all that. And he knows that. It's not manipulation. No. It's just he's giving you free will to live a certain way, and he wants you to make that decision. Yeah. You know
I always tell the kids.
More powerful. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. No. It's more powerful for you to get it than for me to make you get it. You see what I'm saying?
Totally, because it's a heart change, and the Holy Spirit's the only one that can change a man's heart.
And it's such a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
Because it's not reverse psychology like we say it. It's not manipulation, because we know that's a sin. It's him going, look, this is what I want for you. Yeah. This is what I can give you. Here's the knowledge you can obtain. Yeah. But I'm going to leave that up to you. And then once you do that, then you want to do all these. I mean, you have all these aspirations. I want to do this, that, this. You know what I mean? It's excited.
And I just love, because I always tell the kids this, especially Jenna now, she's 12. I always tell her, God doesn't protect us from fun. He protects us for fun.
Yes.
And even with you now, it's like one could think you were just free as a bird, you could just do whatever you wanted. But actually you felt more in bondage outside of that. But when you come into the kingdom and your heart is for the Lord, and maybe somebody from the outside might think like, oh my gosh, like now you're doing like, oh, all these little things that you do and, and tithes and all these things. But we've seen it in our own lives when we live by those principles. There's such freedom that you feel like it actually like lifts that burden because you are living in the kingdom and yes, there's rules in the kingdom because there's order in God's kingdom, but it all starts out of the heart. And I just think that it's amazing to see a life like yours just so transformed, and just to even like the things that we've chatted about, like things like the anger and things like that God's really renewed in you, and to see the person that you are now. And the Lord's not done with any of us.
No.
We're on a journey, and that continues. We're not where we want to be, but we're not where we were. And we just have to keep like leaning into the Lord and loving him and allowing that love to saturate us, so that there isn't those yearnings and those things that would want to seek that filling elsewhere. And even, creating idols out of our spouses or our kids or our jobs or whatever. All of that, it's just satisfied in his love.
Yeah, and then the thing is that most people don't know that that they are in bondage.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because and I say we because I'm just like, a lot of these folks that might not know where to go.
Yeah.
As you don't know you're in bondage because that's where you live.
Mm-hmm.
The human God created a pretty amazing thing. The human mind, the human body is very adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to the missions trip in Haiti, I'm like, we're going to stay in here.
Yeah.
There's like tens of thousands of mosquitoes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shower. You know what I mean?
No AC.
But it's like after a day or two, it was like your body just freaking shifts and it deals with it.
Yeah.
It's like a
the
chameleon.
choice that you had to
it's
make.
like a lizard, changing with its surroundings. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know my testimony and my story, we could, talk about it for hours, but the whole purpose of the journey that you're putting on, which is awesome too. You and Fred have been big time in our life, and me and Sabrina's lives. I mean, Fred's my best dude. He's my brother, you know what I mean? And you are truly my sister. I love you guys to death. And for you guys to step out and do this is amazing, because even if it touches one person,
I know.
that's awesome. And even what happens if it doesn't touch anybody, but it touches us?
Yeah.
That's amazing too.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the Lord and we talk about our testimony and we talk about where we've come from, it heals us.
It does.
And it makes us want to lean in more and grow more.
Yeah.
And we will.
And because the reality is that, I mean, we can all walk in bondage. And even now, even after receiving
we still
Christ, exactly. And so there's still that like need to continue finding freedom and being curious about our journey and saying, okay, Lord, we can only lead as strong as we face our insecurities.
Yeah.
And so, Lord, like what are the things that you're dealing with? The anxieties and all of those things, and things that we still need to be free from. And because one can become, you can get in bondage.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
If we don't watch it, doesn't mean that, God, he actually promises in his word that we're going to face trials of many kinds. So it's we will still face those things, but we get to do it in a different kingdom. We get to do it through a different set of order and a different set of rules.
And we know that it is bondage now.
Yeah.
Before I didn't.
Yeah.
Now when I witness those things or things happen.
And you have the community that helps you to see clearly too. Like I had Whitney on the previous
huge.
episode, and she really helped me to open my eyes. And then once I saw like, oh, wow, it kind of joins all the dots.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful thing.
So James, I really want to thank you for coming today to episode 2. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, James, did you just do it too? That was great.
I was going to, but I would rather have it to be a 1, but it's all right. I'll take 2. That's silver.
Yeah. You were my first guest that I was interviewing.
Good.
I was actually interviewed the previous one. So
okay.
There we go.
All right. Is that it?
You were the first guest on the show.
I will hold you to.
Okay.
I will hold
but
you.
I do love Whitney very much too.
No, I know. She is a great person.
She's a great person. But I just want to thank you so much. And I really hope that those who've listened in today would just feel like no matter what your story is, no matter what your childhood was or what you've been involved in, maybe what you're involved in now, that you can find freedom. Like, I love it. Like, when I look at your tattoos and you tell me the stories of what some of the pictures were before and how you transformed them into something else, that is like the story of your life.
Yeah.
Like, you were one way and then you found Jesus and everything has changed, and you're like this living testimony. And so that is what the Lord wants for all of us, no matter how big or small the journey might seem. Just be encouraged. And you've been such an encouragement today, and just helped me to even look at my life and just to stay in that place of freedom.
Yeah.
It's just so encouraging.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Give it up.
Go team.
Go team. All right.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Journey podcast. I hope that you were encouraged and that you would have a really great week just reflecting on what we've spoken about today. If you have a story that you feel needs to be shared to encourage those who listen, please would you write a comment in the comment section below, and we will reach out to you via email. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to the next episode of the Journey podcast next week.